What's up guys, how the heck are you doing? Welcome to today's video. If you're new here, my name is Drewxcifer, and on this channel I talk about filmmaking and photography tips, tricks, and tutorials. Today's video is going to be no exception because I'm talking about how to edit on the iPad using DaVinci Resolve for beginners. So I sourced some stock footage and I sourced some stock music, and we're going to try to put together a spec commercial. Alright, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's go ahead and let's jump into DaVinci Resolve. We want to create a new project. So I'm going to go down here to the right corner and I'm going to hit this little house icon. That brings up your project database. You can see the rest of the projects that you've worked on recently. Or if you want to bring up a new project, go down, hit new project, and we are going to do car spec commercial. Alright, so here we are. So we have 3 pages down here. You can see the highlighted on the bottom. We have the cut page, we have the edit timeline, and we have the color page. A lot of times you guys may only have the cut page and the color page. That is if you haven't found out the workaround that I talk about in this video to get all the pages for DaVinci Resolve. Now the cut page is a little more difficult to use when it comes to editing in DaVinci. The edit timeline is much more preferable as it allows you to do a lot of zooming in and out of your timeline and making some very detailed adjustments. Alright, so when you look at this interface here, what you see in the top left hand is your media icons. So if you toggle that on and off, that brings up your media bin, or essentially where you house all of your media on the page. Transitions, this shows you all these different transitions and a few effects that you can add to your video clips. Here you have titles. This allows you to add text to your footage, and effects. Here are some effects that you can put on your video clips. A lot of these are, honestly, they're kind of cheesy, they kind of suck, but there's a few good ones in here. We'll make an effects video in the future. We're not going to get too much into those today. Going across the top, you have your export button. This is how you're going to render out or export your footage once you're finished with it. Full screen, that just is like a full screen viewer of the project. So anytime you want to view your project full screen, hit that and it'll allow you to view it. Inspector, this is where you can make a lot of fun little changes to your clips and adjust things like your audio, your dynamic zoom, your position of your video clips, some of your keying and adding images and moving things around on the video clip. We'll mess with a little bit of that today. So let's minimize Inspector. Now, if you go here, this little thing I'm toggling on and off with the sparkles, that is if you have color graded your footage and you want to take the color correction off of your clips and watch them back. Sometimes that'll help if your color grade is slowing your footage down. You can just toggle that on and off. Right here next to that is your timeline settings. So we're going to be working on a 1920 by 1080 timeline. Even though we have 4K footage, I'm going to make sure that I'm working on a HD timeline. That way it's not so taxing on my system. And then we'll make sure that we render out in 4K. Right here, this is proxies. So proxies, this is asking us, do we want to prefer proxies, disable all proxies, or prefer camera originals? So we want to prefer proxies when it comes to playback. That's going to make our playback a little bit smoother. And then across here, this is just different ways to view your timeline. These guys right here, this one and this one. And then going on down, you have some extra tools in timeline settings, but as we click on those and as we do these tutorials, we'll get more in depth with every single one of those, because if we talked about all of those in great detail, we would never get down to the edit. But I promise we'll cover all of them. So let's go ahead and let's start bringing in our media. So I brought in some clips and some material, like I said, to make this car spec commercial. I sourced a lot of things earlier. You can hold down a long press and this will give you the import media. So what I want to do is I want to search through my files and find my folder right here. And I'm going to select all these guys and bring them all in because we're going to use all of this. So we're not going to use that one. Since we don't have a whole lot of footage here, I'm not going to get into creating bins. I'll make a new video about creating bins and how to organize your footage. Let's just go ahead and let's jump into this edit. All right, so before we start bringing stuff in, I'm gonna hop over to the edit timeline to drop my footage in. It's just what I like to use. It just goes a little bit quicker. So when I'm editing anything, it doesn't matter if it's a vlog, doesn't matter if it's a video like this, it doesn't matter if it is a film or a paid commercial, you always need to bring your music in if you're gonna add music and edit to your music. And what I mean by that is you just need to edit to the beats of the music and make sure that the footage match the feeling of the beat, whether it's the beats per minute are fast or whether the beats per minute are slow. So as you can see on my waveform right here, this audio clip, you have all of these spikes in the music. So that's essentially where I want to put the cuts of my footage. Okay, so I want to find the 30-second mark because I don't want this commercial to be any longer than 30 seconds. I feel like that is a good amount of time for a commercial. Probably a little too long for ads if you ask me. So I want to set my out point. So I'm going to hit O on the keyboard to set an out point. And I'm going to scroll all the way over here and hit I for my end point. So that's just going to basically anything from my in and out point that is going to render that if we got to render something out or export something, and it won't export anything past that. So looking at this music, I want to sort of have a little bit of this slower music, but I want it to sort of ramp up because I want it to be a happy sounding commercial. So I'm not going to use the first 30 seconds. I'm going to grab this little white thing. If you can see me moving it on my audio, that's going to allow me to fade the music in. As well as this ball controls the volume. And this right here, this zooms your timeline in and out. That's why using the editor is, the edit page is a lot easier, because the cut page, you can't zoom in and out of the timeline. If you try, it just gives you this box that, you know, is a selection box. It doesn't do anything. The only way you can really control your timeline is up here, and that's a pain in the butt. You can grab this playhead, but it makes very finite type of adjustments. And this one, this is just, it's just a pain in the ass. So we're gonna use this and try to go back and forth to show you how to do each thing. So I have these car clips, and what we want to do is we're trying to create a holiday type of commercial. So I want to grab a good establishing shot to start the commercial. So we're going to grab this one here. I believe this looks like a good establishing shot. It is a car driving through the snow. And since our music ramps up, I want to grab this and I want to fade in our clip doing that. That's how I like to sort of fade in, is by grabbing that little white corner and dragging it to the right. The further you drag it, the longer it takes for it to fade from black. So we're just going to, and that sort of matches the music, right? And you see right where I stopped on a beat. I stopped on a spike in the waveform. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here to this little scissor icon and I'm going to hit that. And that is going to make a cut in my clip. I'm going to select the clip that I'm trying to get rid of, and I'm going to hit Command X. Command X. And that is going to delete the rest of that clip behind. So now we need to find another clip to put behind there. I want to go with this road clip here. This has a cool turn in it. And you can see that this piece of footage brought in an audio clip with it. That's what this is down here. I don't want that audio down there, so I'm going to long press that clip. I'm going to go down and I'm going to unlink it by clicking Link Clips. And then I'm going to hit Command X on it to get rid of it. So this right here, I want to bring in, I want to highlight in between the two clips, and I'm going to hit delete. And that is going to ripple delete that clip and smash it against the previous one. So now we're going to watch this back and listen to it. Okay, so right there where that piano comes in, we're going to cut this clip. So right there, I'm going to hit the scissors again. I'm going to hit everything after the scissors, Command X. So now we're going to bring in another clip. So let's bring in this guy here. This is another one of the turns, like the hairpin turn clips. Long press on this, Link Clips to get it out of there, and Command X. There's hotkeys for all of this, but I don't want to get too much into hotkeys right now. like I said, we'll cover those more in a future video. So I highlighted in between the two. I'm going to hit delete, and let's go ahead and let's play this. Okay, so I don't want to stop on that first beat because that's way too soon of a change. So I'm going to let it play out, and I'm going to stop on that one. So what we're going to do, hit the scissors, and everything after it, Command X to get rid of it. All right, so now let's watch this back. All right, so watch this. Let me show you guys a cool trick. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to go up to Inspector, and I'm going to hit Dynamic Zoom, and it's going to slowly zoom out. So watch this. I think that sort of matches the crescendo of the music, right? So that looks like that. You see how it's slowly zooming out? So without that, it's just static. I mean, the camera kind of moves from the right side to the left side, but you don't have that cool zoom. And this automatically does it. So in a lot of editors, even in DaVinci, you can go in and you can keyframe those zoom ins and outs, but you don't have to when you have dynamic zoom. It does it dynamically for you. It just has that smooth zoom out, and you can reverse it and you can do a smooth zoom in by hitting dynamic zoom and just going in and changing this from ease in to ease out. So let's watch this back. All right, so let's go ahead and let's add another clip. So I have this cool clip here of the car driving in the woods. So let's do this. Highlight the space in between, hit delete. We're going to stop it right where the piano goes, hit Command X, and then let's go and let's find this piece of footage right here. This is just a clip of the car driving from the top again, another drone shot. Stop it where the piano hits. And let's go ahead and let's find another clip. We have this other shot of the car driving from behind. I think that might be cool. Let's delete. Let's bring that in. Let's stop where the piano hits. Let's zoom in and make sure that ends on the exact note. Let me zoom in here. Perfect. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to show the car going home, right? So let's go ahead and let's select this clip. This is sort of the car. I want it to give the feeling of the car coming out of the woods. And then our last clip is going to be the car actually driving up to a house. It's going to be the money shot. So let's watch this back. So how gnarly is that? So I didn't know that this was a Suzuki car. I had to zoom in and look. So I went and I sourced the Suzuki logo, because if you're going to have a car commercial, you need the logo at the end. So let's go ahead and let's throw this logo here at the end. and we might need to shorten it. So we're going to have a little bit longer than 30 seconds. So we'll go to about 31, 32. And what we're going to do is I have this cool fake snow overlay that I sourced. And I want to put it at the end over the Suzuki logo to make it look like more Christmassy, sort of match and spice up that logo a little bit. So in order to make that logo look right, we need to go into Inspector, and we need to select it, and then we need to go to Composite right here, and I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to Add, and that's going to take it's going to take the black background out of the snow. So now we have this Suzuki logo. It's way too big, so I'm going to select it. I'm still in the Inspector tab, and I'm going to zoom out. I want that to be smaller, and then position. My y-axis will allow me to move it up and down. I'm going to move it about right there. All right, so something that I think is really going to pull this commercial together is if we add a title. And I think something that'll cheese it up and make it feel like a holiday commercial is if we add some text at the end under the Suzuki logo. So in order to get to the titles, go up to Effects, and then you see in your toolbox here, Video Transitions, Audio Transitions, and Titles. We want to select Titles. And this has all of these different titles. So you have titles, which you'll have to manually keyframe these in to make these ones move. But under Fusion titles, these are sort of like motion graphics, if you're familiar with how that works in Premiere. So I want to find one that is going to match the mood of our car commercial. So I think this Fade On one, I like using this one a lot. I think this will be nice. So we're going to grab this, and we're going to pull this down just like so, and we're going to pull it over our end screen here. And I'm just going to grab it to make sure it matches. Bring my playhead here, make sure it matches perfectly. And if I click it, I can go up to Inspector, and then if I click my title, it'll allow me to change that text. So I'm just going to change it on my keyboard. And again, something super corny. Home for the Holidays, I think, is a perfect title for this. I want to make sure that matches. Now we need to change the position of it on this screen. So you go to Settings, scroll up to the top. We need to zoom out because it needs to be a little smaller. And then the y-axis allows me to move it up and down. And the x-axis would be left to right. But I think it's fine on the x-axis. I just need to move it up and down. I actually want this to be back on 0. So you don't have to scroll. You can actually type in. So let's just put 0, enter, and that centers it. So let's watch this entire thing back just to see what it looks like. Let's go full screen, and let's go back to the beginning. Right? That was perfect, right? Like, how cheesy. You want to go out and buy a Suzuki right now, don't you? Now, we could go and we could cut this music here. So let's bring our playhead here. Our out point needs to actually be right there. And what we need to do is we need to fade all of this out. So I'm going to grab this little white thing. I'm going to fade all this out. I'm going to cut our music. So I'm going to click right there. I'm going to click our scissors. Command X to get rid of the rest of it, and then I'm going to just slowly fade our music out so it'll sound a little bit better. We need to actually fade it out way before that. Grab the ball to make sure the volume is actually going down to 0. That's too much. So there's one little piano hit at the end that I don't want to hear. It's this whole little piece here. And then I want to make sure that this fades off when the music fades. And the same with the snow. Perfect. All right, so that looks pretty freaking good to me. One thing I want to add though that we didn't put in here is let's sell it with some sound effects. So we want it to sound nice and cold, so I just sourced some stormy wind, some like snow wind sound. So we're going to bring that in here, drag it all the way down. I want my playhead to be there so I can cut it at the end. Command X. Grab, not Command X, but let's grab the scissors. Now Command X. Crap, select the other part, Command X, there we go. And I want this to fade out because we already know we got everything else fading out at the end. So this needs to fade out too, as well as this needs to fade in because we have everything at the beginning fading in. And let's listen to this. That changes everything right there. That makes it sound so much better. Sound effects sells everything. Alright guys, so now that we have our car spec commercial finished and we want to render it out, you would want to go up here, go back to your cut page, and you want to go here to this icon and you want to change your timeline settings to 4K. Now you go to export and this is going to allow you to export in 4K. If it was me, I would export in H.265. It's a little bit easier to work with than H.264. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to export this just to see how long this takes. I'm going to just put it on my iPad right here. And you guys can watch this as it's exporting to show you how awesome the M1 iPads are. So, I mean, look at this. We have a full video car commercial spec'd out and it only took, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. And that's a true testament to how well Blackmagic has optimized their software for the M1 and M2 iPads. And we have now a 4K car commercial or spec commercial that we could put in our portfolio. We could send to Suzuki or we could send it to clients as proof of concept in hopes of getting work. Now, we could spend a lot more time in here and make that car commercial a lot better by spending hours on the color grade, by spending time on the sound design and the music. I only spent maybe 5 to 10 minutes sourcing all the stock footage, sourcing the music, and we only spent, what, 15 to 20 minutes doing the edit, and it looks that good. It looks pretty damn good in my opinion. So if you guys want to see anything else more in depth that we talked about in this video, drop it down in the comments because we're going to be doing more advanced and more thorough DaVinci Resolve tutorials here on this channel. Just let me know what you guys want to see down below. But if you guys are getting value out of these videos, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, that way you don't miss any killer content from the Drewxcifer channel. But as always, I'm Drewxcifer, stay rad, just go shoot, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.